Hello, Flosstube. It has been a while since my last update. It actually has not been super long since I sat down to film a Flosstube update because I filmed one yesterday on my phone and it was over an hour long, and apparently my phone did not really want to upload it to Google Photos so that I could access it on my computer and do the editing that I needed to do, so I have to do the whole thing all over again. Yay me! I started my previous video, and I'll start this one too, with a little wall tour. You can't really see it with the way the camera is set up, but I took a little video of the cross-stitch finishes that I have on the wall above me, so I'm going to put that little video in right here. This is my cross-stitch wall. Let me go in closer. We have the Cat Sampler by Heartstring Samplery, American Sampler by Plum Street Samplers, Bird Sampler by Brenda Keys, Grand House from the book Reader's Digest Big Book of Cross-Stitch Designs, and The Desire to Create, one of my designs. It's available in my Etsy shop. This was already hanging on the wall. I added everything else. And there it is. As I finish and frame other things, they will be added as well. So yeah, all except for the Desire to Create, I framed since the last time I did a video. It was actually the day before the Stitch West retreat that's put on by Snug Harbor Crafts. That was last weekend. I'll be talking about that throughout my video. Let's see. I used stitchery tape instead of what's it called, threading the back, and it was so much easier. I may never go back. I love stitchery tape. That stuff is the best. Let's see. I am going to go ahead and just jump in and show off my lovely stitching for the week. Try to go kind of in order, but I did jump around quite a lot, and so there's probably going to be not a huge amount of being organized. I'm setting the timer because my camera shuts off after half an hour, so I have to turn it off before then so that I can start it again and know exactly where I left off. Okay, so here we go, my not super organized video. So I worked on Feasting Frenzy. This is a Dimensions kit, and the design is by Merrily Carol. That's a very festive name. Let me show where I am at. Here it is. Since last time I added this bird and the peanuts in front of it, and this bird, and then some little bits and pieces here on the ends, or in the background. I'm just really enjoying all these little birds. They're just so fun. Hello, kitten. I have a plastic bag down here, and the kittens are very curious about it. Come here. Come here, Stanley. Come here. Oh, here you go. He's got to be such a big boy since last time. Look at him, he's so big. Yeah. Stanley and Sophia are very curious about that bag. It's just sweaters that I got at DI, the thrift store. Anyway, so that was Feasting Frenzy. Dimensions kit. I'm just stitching it on the kit fabric with the kit floss. I worked on the cabinet by Thistles. Design is by Elizabeth Gottschall. And I previously had the first 2 shelves finished and a pile of books on the 3rd shelf. So I had finished the 1st shelf and I had finished the 2nd shelf, and here's the 3rd shelf. So I had done the books, and so since my last video I added the stack of quilts. And I love how they turned out. I really love old quilts and, you know, patchwork and stuff. They look awesome. So here is the cabinet. And eventually it's going to be finished into this really awesome piece of decor somehow. And I'll figure that out when I get to it. That is stitched on 32 count vintage Sahara, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle my finishes in here while I'm doing my whips, because I might as well. It's the order I stitched them in. So after I worked on the cabinet, I got out Wild Lilies Flourish. This is a design that I am selling in my Etsy shop. I designed it. And I don't have the cover page because after I filmed yesterday, I threw it away because I didn't need it anymore. I'm finished with Wild Lilies Flourish. So what I worked on, I added all the yellow in the border flowers. I added the 2nd alphabet and the numbers in this cartouche. I added all of these motifs here and down the side, and look at that tiny little bird. I think that was one that I added. So all of that put together ended up finishing Wild Lilies Flourish. So that one is going in my finish roll to be dealt with later. Speaking of finishes and finish roll, last time, my last video, not yesterday, but the one like a month and a half ago, I showed 4 cross-stitch finishes, 4 pieces that I had finished. Not FFOs, just the stitch piece. And I can't find them. They have been missing ever since I filmed that video. And it's been driving me crazy. How do you misplace 4 cross-stitch finishes? Everything else from that video, I know exactly where it is. I just can't find my finishes. I've looked in all my bags, I've looked in the area where I filmed, I've looked in my finished roll. I can't find them anywhere. They will turn up. I'm fairly certain they haven't left the house. But I'm really frustrated because I misplaced 4 finishes. It's ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, this next piece is haul/new start. Having finished Wild Lilies Flourished, I deserved a new start, and so I started Inspiration by from Rosewood Manor by Karen Kluba. And the reason I wanted so much to do this one is because Cheryl at Tranquil Stitches, she has this as one of her whips, and excuse me, and every time she shows it, I just fall in love with it over again, and finally I needed it, and so I went ahead and bought it, and I have started it. And here is what I've got. I've finished the first page, and I've started in on the second page, and I did some border almost all the way to the edge. anyway, it's very, let me fold this in half. It's very delicate, very heavy in backstitch. And then in the middle, there's going to be a whole lot of over one stitching. It's just very detailed work. So this is not one to work on when you want to do just like mindless stitching. This is not a mindless stitching project, but I'm really enjoying it. It's so pretty. Next, oh wait, that one is on 32 count. There's the antique lace. 32 count antique lace. Okay. Trying to remember the fabrics I'm stitching on and stuff. Okay. Next I pulled out Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. And I worked in this area. So let me get that out and I'll show the stuff I put in. Big old honkin' piece of fabric here. That's sideways, isn't it? There we go. So what I did this big diamond here and this deer, and then I joined the deer here, you know, this little bit right here, joined it down here. This is a lot of stitching. On a piece this big, it doesn't look like much, but it's a lot of stitching. And I'm really enjoying how this one is coming along. This is 32 count Nature's Dance. It's so pretty. I'm not sure how the camera is picking it up, but it's beautiful. Nature's Dance from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And I'm stitching that with DMC 801 and some random turquoisey colors as well. All right. This next one I brought with me to retreat, but I stitched on it quite a bit before retreat. I added a lot, and then I just had one little tiny bit left, and I saved that and stitched on it during the retreat and finished it. This is Winter's Wisdom. It's one of the Songbird's Garden series by Cottage Garden Samplings. So what I did since last time, I put in this branch and all of these pine needle sprout thingies. I put in the birds, and then I put it away until the retreat, and at the retreat I stitched the house. So that is now complete. The fun thing about this is stitched 1/2 on 36 count. These birds, these golden crown kinglets, this is life size. You could literally hold it in your hand like this, and like that's the size it would be. Isn't that so cute? I love that they're so small and just, lovely, lovely finish. So that one got a lot of love, and it's so fun just finishing things, you know? Okay. More finishy things. I needed a small for the Smalls Exchange at the Stitch West Retreat, and I have this pattern. It's by the Workbasket, and it's 4 small patterns, and it's called Bookies, and they're just quotes about books. And so I stitched all 4 of them, and then one of them I finished into a needle book for the Smalls Exchange. And I'm going to, if I'm able to get it uploaded from my phone, there's a small video that I took about the needle book that I made, and I will put that here if I'm able to, and if not, then I'll just look silly for a couple seconds. Okay, so here's the piece that I created for the Smalls Exchange for Stitch West. I apologize for any background sounds. I'm filming this the night before the Smalls Exchange, right before I wrap this up to put it in its package. And I have kittens around. Hey, Stanley. And my son is kind of refusing to go to sleep. Anyway, so this is a house with no books, or I think the pattern is called House Without Books, but it's from a set of patterns called Bookies, and I don't remember who the designer is. I will put it down below. So it says a house with no books is like a room with no windows. It's got some fun little motifs along the sides. And I turned it into, see if I can do this with one hand, a little sewing kit needlebook thing. There we go. So you open it up. It's got some fun lace trim here. It's got a pocket. In here I put some floss. Here you can put I put a highlighter, or it could be a pen. And here is a pocket for scissors, complete with a little bit of lace ribbon to tie onto the scissors when you put them in the pocket so that they do not fall out, or if they do, they will not get lost. Then there's 2 pages of wool felt for needles. I'm including 6 size 26 needles, and 2 needle minders, and there's the back of the needle minders, and then some bobbins and just some random floss that kind of matches the colors. A little bit more pretty lace. I actually coffee dyed this lace. It used to be bright white, but I thought it really looked nice with the fabrics that I chose. And then there's the back. It's very simply quilted with just some lines. So there is my piece for the Smalls Exchange that I am so excited to have finished, and I just love how it turned out. Isn't it just the sweetest? And now I have to make one for me because, I mean, it's so cool. Anyway, back to the regular Flosstube. Hopefully you were able to see that. If not, it said a house with no books is like a room with no windows, and it was really cool. Anyway, so these are the other ones that I finished, and I have to do the house with no books again so that I have the full set of 4. But this one is Books Are Constant Quiet Friends. A book is like a garden in your pocket, and a book is a dream you hold in your hand. Now, I absolutely love books, and so this whole pattern, or set of patterns, is right up my alley. And Heather, the lady who received the needle book, she was very excited about it. She said she's never had a needle book, and so she was excited to get that, and she really loves books, so she enjoyed receiving that. And I'm sure it helped that I also put in a big bag of candy in the bottom of the bag, because you always have to have candy. I mean, you know. Okay, this next one I put a lot of work in. Okay, so this is Talavera. It's the Linen and Threads Mystery Sampler for 2021. Again, I mean, every time I show this is not as far as it's been released. It's been released here, all the way to here. There's just like this little bit down at the bottom left. But last time I showed this, I had this one done, and the one in here done. I had the middle border done and partway down the side. So just for reference, that's as far as I had gotten. Then I decided to work on it like monogamously, which I don't always do, but I worked on it for I worked on it a long time, just this, and I am entirely caught up. I have January and February and March and April and May and June and July and August and September and October. I just have November and December left. This is stitched on 36 count Dolphin. I don't recall if it's Weeks Dye Works or Picture This Plus. But it's this really pretty dark bluish green, and then I'm stitching it with DMC 06, and so it has this beautiful lacy effect that I just really love. And it was fun. I brought this and I stitched on this on Friday at the retreat, and everyone was just oohing and awing over it, and that made me feel all happy. Especially because the only reason I used this fabric was because I had bought it for something else and then changed my mind and didn't want to use it for that, and so I was like, well, it's kind of the only piece that I have that is big enough that I don't have like set aside for something else, so I'll go ahead and use it, and I guess I better use a light thread because it's a dark fabric, and this was born. And it's just so pretty. Okay. One more whip that's actually not a whip anymore. It was a new start and I finished it. At the retreat, Little Stitch Girl, that's Jordan X Stitch on Instagram, and Basic Stitches is her channel with her mom and sometimes aunt and grandmother. And she designed the retreat exclusive. It was a small Quaker sampler called Stitching with Friends. And so I started it on Saturday after I finished Winter's Wisdom and got to ring the bell and all that. And stitched on it Saturday and Sunday, and then continued to stitch it after the retreat. And I finished it! The only thing better than stitching is stitching with friends. And I kitted this up with, let's see, this is 46 count ivory or parchment or something. I don't recall, but it was from the freebie table at Stitch West. I've never stitched on 46 count before. I really enjoyed it. And then I used just overdyes from my stash for the stitching. And I love how it turned out. This was a very fun little stitch. Just took a few days to do, and I think it's very well designed, and it makes me happy. The colors and the pattern and of course what it says, it's perfect. So really enjoyed that. Okay, it hasn't been half an hour yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video and then start again so I can kind of rearrange everything and show haul and other crafts. Okay, so I did get a little bit of haul, just a tiny bit. Now for me it's actually quite a lot. I showed you Inspiration. I purchased that, and then I have a couple other patterns that I purchased. This was enabled from, I don't remember who. It was a Flosstuber who showed this, and I was like, well, I have to have it because it's old barns and quilts, and I love that so much. So I got Quilty Barn by Lori Holt from Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm going to stitch the whole thing. I'm not going to stitch it over 2 on 25 count. I'm going to stitch it little. But I'm going to change the color of the barns and maybe some colors in the quilts because I want it darker and more muted and more old looking. So that should be fun. If I don't put things away, then I will lose them. Just like I lost my finishes. Anyway, while I was at Fat Quarter Shop, I figured I might as well get another pattern so that the first one wouldn't be lonely. So I got Autumntown by Autumn Lane Stitchery. And it's so pretty. What I didn't realize until the pattern got here is that it's stitched on green, and so everywhere where it's grass, that actually isn't stitched. That's the color of the fabric. I'm not going to do that. Because that would limit which fabric I can choose, and if I want to just stitch it right away, then I have to use fabric from my stash, which means it could be any color. And so I'm just going to use green floss and stitch the grass so that it will be completely full coverage and I don't have to worry about what fabric I use. Anyway, love that. Autumn is my favorite season, as I'm sure it's many people's favorite season. But, I've always absolutely loved autumn. The colors are gorgeous, the leaves, the trees, the flavors. My bag is sticking to my pattern. There we go. Okay, so that was my haul from not Stitch West. Now my Stitch West haul. I'll show the things that I bought and then the things that I got. So I sat very near Vicky Stitchin' Button, and she had a chair set up next to her with all of the bags that she had brought to sell, and I saw somebody else flipping through the bags and saw them flip past this one that I'm about to show you, and I fell in love with it, and so I got up and I was like, hey, I'm buying this bag. So here it is. It's got this really pretty lacy fabric on the inside and these really cute pumpkins on the other side. It's Halloween-y, it's autumny, but it's not overtly so, and I'm gonna use this like all year for whatever I want to because I love it so much. Anyway, right now, I can put this back in. Right now I'm using it for inspiration. I only just put it in there. I just put inspiration in because previously I was using it for Stitching with Friends, the little Stitch Girl piece. Okay, so that was one purchase. On Friday I went with Sarah King and her mom and Vicky Stitchin' Button and Sammy J and Laurel and I think her name was Andrea, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I went with this group of lovely ladies to Stitchery Express, and that is a needlework warehouse store run by Cindy Storley, and I bought fabric. I hung out in the fabric section mostly, and just stacks, piles of fabric flare fabric, and it was all so gorgeous. So I got this pretty one. It's green with snowflakes, and I got a fat 1/8 of this one. And then this one, very pretty mottled pale green, and that's a fat 1/8 of this one as well. Then I got fat 1/4 of these because they're gorgeous. This one is like wood planks. I don't know what I'm going to stitch on any of these. I just bought them because they're so pretty. So wood planks, and then vintage newsprint. Oh, so pretty. Fat 1/4 of this one as well. Like big old piece of newsprint, and it's so gorgeous. And I don't know what I'm stitching on it, but I'm going to love it. The snowflake one is 40 count, and the others are all 32 count. Okay, so that's actually all that I bought. Everything else was either giveaway or freebie table. First off, I got lots of fun needle minders and floss cards. They've all already been put away though, because after I filmed yesterday, I put everything away and I just really didn't feel like getting everything back out. But if you look at other people's floss tubes who went to Stitch West, you'll see all the fun needle minders and whatnot. And I'm just going to show the things that I specifically got. First is from the Smalls Exchange. I received the offering given by the lovely Jen from Cricklewood Crossing, and one of the things I got was this needle minder, and it's an old-fashioned quilt, and that came with these beautiful scissors and scissor fob. This is stitched 1/1 on 25 count, and it's just gorgeous. But yeah, the patchwork here is similar to an old quilt, and the scissors are really good quality. I've been using them. Sturdy, strong, beautiful scissors. They've got like flowers and stuff on the handle. Anyway, so that was my wonderful Smalls Exchange piece. Love it. Okay, I won a drawing. There were lots of drawings there, and I got 3 patterns. One is Country Cottage Needleworks Happy Fall, Y'all. And it's just this cute little bitty band sampler. I'm not a huge fan of the saying Happy Fall, Y'all. And it's weird, I grew up in the South the first like 10 years of my life, but I'm not really Southerner at heart, at least not in vocabulary. I love the South. I love the food. I love the people. I just don't like y'all, the word. So I'm going to take out the word y'all and move over Happy Fall so that it's centered, and then probably just add like a tiny motif on either side to fill in the space. Because the rest of the pattern is just absolutely perfect. Okay, also one thing that I won, or pattern that I won, was from Salty Stitcher Design, and this one is Dr. Maya Angelou, and it's her quote that says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And then it's got this really pretty floral border. That one will be neat to stitch. And then the last pattern from that drawing is another Salty Stitcher Designs piece, and it's called Island Walkabout, and it's got ukulele and the word aloha and volcanic mountains and flip-flops and ocean and just all sorts of super fun Hawaiian motifs. Okay, so those were the 3 patterns that I won from the drawing. Then we get to the freebie table. Oh, I forgot to grab it, but there was a book. I got some crochet stuff. There was a book called, I forget what it was called, but it was a lot of Afghans. So there's a crochet Afghan book that I didn't grab. And then 2 issues of Crochet magazine and 1 issue of Crochet World, because I like to crochet. This cute little kit says Joy. Comes with like the little hanger thing, tiny little piece of Ada. Just a cute little ornament. like Michelle, Romantic Tingle, I am trying to do a quilt with vintage style embroidery. She's a lot farther than I am. I only have one done, like one little piece of embroidery done, but I can still collect them. So I got these two transfer patterns, or yeah, for red work that I can use for my vintage embroidery quilt. Okay, I got Pumpkin Harvest. This is from Lena Lawson Needleworks, featuring the artwork of Jean-Baptiste Monge. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but Jean-Baptiste is a very good artist, and I really like this cute little gnome on a pumpkin being pulled by mice. Really cute. Oh, this is the first time I've actually looked at the pattern. That's like, the pattern is big and full color and very good quality. That's good. That will be very helpful. This collection of kitchen towels. I'm not going to stitch these on kitchen towels, but there's a lot of motifs on here that I would stitch. I really like produce stitches, so like fruits and vegetables, and there's lots of fruits and vegetables here. And there's this one here, you probably won't be able to see it very well, but it's basically a barn and a heart, and I think that is just absolutely adorable, and I would totally stitch that. There's a bird and tree that's the different seasons, some butterflies, lots of fun motifs on here that you don't have to put on kitchen towels, and like I said, I'm not going to, but I will totally stitch those. Someone, for some reason, was destashing Fractor flowers, so I snatched that up. This is from excuse me, by Lottie Da. And I'm excited to do that one at some point. Okay, at the brag table, somebody had brought Mirabilia that they had stitched, but they stitched it over one on, I'm not sure what fabric it was. It was like 25 or 28 or maybe even 32, but she was this big, like little tiny Mirabilia. And now I want to do a tiny fancy lady, and at the freebie table there was this elegant countess, and I believe that I'm going to, I'll have to adjust certain things in the pattern because there's more detail than can be put in over one, but I'm totally going to stitch her over one on like 25 count and make her really small, and that's going to be so cool. Okay, I got this piece titled A Child's Prayer, and it's from With My Needle, and it says, "The Savior who in glory reigns, who made the earth and sea, whose mighty arm the world sustains, was once a child like me. He stooped so low that I might rise to dwell with him above. Lord, send thy spirit from the skies, and grant a child thy love." So it's really pretty. It's got all the sheep and birds and hearts and stuff. So that one's just a very sweet sampler that I would really enjoy stitching. I can get this back in. Struggle bus, y'all. It doesn't want to go back in. I just said y'all, didn't I? All of that, I don't like the word y'all, and now I'm like, y'all. Okay. Hypocrisy 1, Stephanie 0. And the last, this is my favorite that I got from the freebie table. It shouldn't be. It's really strange to be a favorite, but I love it. And this is Stony Creek collection, Outhouse collection. It's a collection of cross-stitched outhouses. This one's decorated for Christmas. This one says occupied. This one has a satellite dish. This one has a birdhouse. This one says Ma and Pa. This one's extra big and it says fits all sizes. And this one says beware of bees. And this one's like a little church with like stained glass. This one has like toilet paper sitting on branches outside the door. Anyway, outhouses. I love it. And I'm totally gonna stitch at least one of these. Probably more, because they're so awesome. Okay. That's everything cross-stitch related. Like I said, there were other things that I got at Stitch West that... Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. It's harder than you'd think. There were things that I bought, or that I received at Stitch West that have been put away, and I didn't feel like grabbing everything out again. I did have a great time at Stitch West, got a lot of stitching done, sat with some wonderful people, and they were very kind and accepted me for being quiet and who I am, which is nice. And I just had, it was really nice. I encourage anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to go to a stitch retreat, if it's something that you can do, go for it. It's just a great experience. I have other crafty stuff. I was supposed to do a Flosstube extra for the other crafty stuff, but ended up being lazy and procrastinating and not doing it. So I'll show what some of what I was gonna show. Some of it I'm just like, nah, that's okay, it doesn't have to be shown. But I did some work on my quilt blocks. As a reminder, these are blocks that I stitched several years ago, pieced together years ago, with not consistent seam allowances. I wasn't doing the scant 1/4 inch seam like you're supposed to, so none of them were the right size. So I've been working on, working very slowly every once in a while, working on adding some sashing around each piece to make it big enough that I can cut down to the right size. So previously I had done all the browns, and now I did the reds and oranges and yellows. So what I've added is just all the strips along the outside that make it bigger. And at some point I'm going to take all of these pieces, cut them down to size, make a few more pieces, a few more blocks, and then I'm going to actually sew them all together into a quilt. I probably said this last time, but I'm probably going to do a quilt as you go method where I'll quilt each individual block with its own individual square of batting and backing, and then attach them with some sort of strips between each block. Anyway, it'll be good. Now I'm going to scroll through my phone just a little bit so that I can show a couple other things that I made that are especially awesome. My older daughter Zaylee, her friend invited her to homecoming, and I made her dress. I'm gonna have to get up and come around so that I can make sure it looks, you can see it in the camera. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's very blue. So that's her dress. She doesn't look happy because she doesn't like taking pictures, but she was very excited about the dress and she was very happy to go to homecoming. Also, I made the boutonniere that she gave to her friend. I wasn't originally going to make a boutonniere. Get this. How do you get it straight? I wasn't going to make a boutonniere. I had ordered a boutonniere from Amazon, and it made it all the way to out for delivery, and then said delivery was canceled because the package was damaged. And this is like the day before homecoming, and we're like, oh, no boutonniere then, huh? So I went to YouTube and was like, how to make a boutonniere, and then I went to Joanne with my girls and got a bunch of flowers and greenery and stuff that my daughter approved of, and I made the boutonniere. And I could have just not bothered because he didn't give her a corsage, so he was wearing all these pretty flowers and she wasn't, but they didn't care. It all worked out fine. They had a blast. They had a really good time. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Tiny bit of life updates. So last time in my video, half of us were sick. Total count, let's see. My husband ended up with COVID. I ended up with COVID. Both of us lost our sense of smell, but got it back for the most part after about a week or two. My oldest daughter had a cold but tested negative for COVID. My oldest son had a cold and tested negative. Then the next daughter, positive for COVID, and had strep throat and had an ear infection. And then the next son after her had COVID. Now the two of them, they had it a lot worse than my husband and I because they're too young to be vaccinated, and so they had the full brunt of it and were just miserable for several days. Poor things. Jeff and I, it was really, really mild. Then my youngest tested negative for COVID, but he also had strep throat and an ear infection. So for, 2 or 3 weeks, we were all just like kind of back and forth miserable. It wasn't fun, but we're all doing a lot better now. Audrey still has not fully regained her sense of smell. She still gets very excited anytime she's able to smell something. So we're hoping that comes back fully at some point. Let's see. We started school, obviously. We homeschool, and so it looks different for us to start school than other people, but yeah, we started school, and that's going well. I roped Jeff into being Zaylee and Thomas's chemistry teacher, so I don't have to worry about doing the high school chemistry class with them, so he comes home from work and does chemistry with them, and he does the experiments with them and everything, and it's lots of fun watching them do it and knowing that I don't have to be part of it. And one more cross-stitch thing, I forgot. I wasn't able to show this before because it's Biscornu, and my partner from the Great Biscornu Swap had not yet received it. But this is the most recent Biscornu I stitched. The theme was birds, and I think it turned out super cute. It's birds and flowers and mushrooms. I've already forgotten who designed this. It might be a tiny modernist. It'll be linked below. So yeah, the Biscornu. And with the Biscornu, so one of the things that I've been working on is art, like painting and sketching. And so I asked my swap partner what her favorite birds were, and then I painted them for her. I did watercolor. She said she liked bluebirds, so I painted this bluebird and toucans. Here's the toucan. And robins. So here's the robin I painted. Isn't that so fun? So I have several sketchbooks that I've been keeping for the past couple of months. If anybody would like, let me know in the comments if you would like me to do a flip through of all my sketchbooks so you can see more of my gorgeous, amazing art. I mean, if no one is interested, then that's fine. I'll just keep it all to myself and you don't get to see it. So there. But yeah, if anyone wants to see a flip through of my sketches and paintings, that would be kind of fun, I think. Last thing, just another little life update thing. My husband and I celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary. He took me to the opera. We saw Barber of Seville, and it was so awesome. That's the first live opera I've ever attended. And now I'm like, well, now I have to see all the operas live and in person because it was so cool. And now before I start blabbering on and making no sense and just talking without saying anything, I'm going to go ahead and end the video and get this uploaded. And hopefully this time it will work. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and I will talk to you next time. Happy stitching. Bye.